Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new EPG podcast. I'm Alina Arsani, Head of Energy Systems within EPG, and together with Irene Mihai, Policy Officer at the Romanian Photovoltaic Industry Association, we will discuss about solar energy, and we will tackle the European context, and we will then focus on the Romanian one with strategic objectives, financing, challenges, but also policy recommendations at the end. Hello, Irene, and welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Alina. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for bringing up such an important topic as solar. As you mentioned, I'm the policy officer of the Romanian Photovoltaic Industry Association. That's the association that represents the entire solar sector as a whole. We have around 60 members with 1.7 gigawatts of installed capacity. We represent investors, developers, banks, lawyers, and everyone that's involved in solar. And we also have our two own initiatives. We have two projects that are dedicated to PV recycling and to PV manufacturing. And we try as such to close and open the circle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the description. I propose to start with the European context. And what we have seen recently is that the EU has more ambitious targets in terms of renewable energy sources. Could you please give us an overview about the main initiatives on solar energy?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's important to point out that we are in a point in time where the climate concerns and the energy security concerns converge into a singular point, and that is energy transition. And solar is at the forefront of this movement, say so. We have an important target of 600 gigawatts by 2030. You will see that we have two numbers actually. One is 600 gigawatts, one is 750. Just to know, is the same target in different ways of measuring the current. So AC, DC, that's the parenthesis. As we mentioned, we have this very important development at the European level. So we have the EU solar strategy with this very important target. We also have another initiative that's dedicated to rooftop PV that would bring an addition of 16 to 17 gigawatts to this whole target. We also have an alliance that's dedicated to PV, and we are also tackling the manufacturing. We try to bring back manufacturing to Europe to ensure this supply security. And of course, we have the revised Renewable Energy Directive, which trickles down to more solar as a whole, both in utility scale projects and in prosumers.
Okay, and I will add only one comment here regarding the Renewable Energy Directive that also includes these acceleration areas for RES. So EU member states have the obligation to designate acceleration areas for RES by the end of 2026, and we at EPG we are closely monitoring the subject because we also have a project called Renewland on this specific topic, and RPI is part of the stakeholder engagement process that we are doing through that project. Going further to the Romanian context, what we have seen, at least for the figures from 2022, is that Romania had only 1.8 gigawatts installed capacities in solar energy, 1.4 in utility scales, and 0.4 in rooftop PVs. We have seen a limited growth in terms of solar energy, at least until 2022 in Romania, compared to peer countries such as Hungary and Poland. Could you give us a little bit of detail on the process and evolution, at least in the last decade?
Definitely. It's important to point out here that the 1.4 gigawatts that you mentioned in parks are actually the ones that are built in the period of 2010s, so the early up to actually 2014, I would say. So to understand a bit what happened, we need to look back at what happened before. During this period, this early 2010s, we had a green certificate support scheme that supported the development of not only solar but also wind in Romania. And after this scheme ended, the industry did not get that much investment, and it basically went dormant, to put it nicely. Up until 2022, actually. In 2022, we had the 0 megawatts installed, but the context, the new security context, the new security landscape, the new needs, The electricity prices drove again the revival of this sector. And we are seeing new installations, both in terms of prosumers, as you mentioned, but also in terms of parks. Although we had 0 megawatts installed in 2022, in 2023 we had 500. This year we expect around 800, and next year we expect around 2 gigawatts. Yeah. So it's an upscale trend, both in installations in rooftop and also in utility scale parks. Important to note is this significant development of the prosumer sector. We went from 0 to over 2 gigawatts in less than 3 years, which is an unparalleled evolution. So to summarize a bit, we had this period of no investments, but the industry is in full force again. We will see the construction of utility scale projects, big utility scale projects that are going to come up online in the upcoming years. And the prosumer sector is not going to stop. So solar is, as I mentioned, at the forefront of this transition.
Is indeed, and we have seen that the Romanian authorities are taking into consideration this change. And if you look at the recent revised National Energy and Climate Plan, we see there a target of 8.3 gigawatts until 2030. So from 1.8 in 2022 to more than 8 in 2030. This could be a ambitious target. What do you think about this?
I think there's still room for improvement. As I mentioned, the industry is moving at a fast pace. And you see, when you set the targets, you set the expectations for the market as well. You send the signals when you assume an ambitious target, and you also send the signals when you assume this target that could be improved. In terms of utility scale projects, according to our studies that we did with the Wind Association and with Deloitte, we actually need around 6.1 gigawatts in parks and 5 gigawatts in prosumers by 2030 to reach the targets and to align with the revised directive. So yeah, it could be ambitious, but there is still a lot of room for improvement. And solar, as I mentioned, is the fastest growing because it's also the easiest one to deploy. So if you have more ambitious targets, you will of course have more installations that will contribute to this security desideratum.
Okay, correlated with this, we have seen an increase in the financing mechanism for PVs, and also so we have the contract for difference scheme, and if you can give us a little bit of detail about it, but also financing from the National Resilience and Recovery Plan.
Yes, indeed. Let's first start with the Recovery and Resilience Plan because it was the first one. Yes, we have funds dedicated to PV. We have around 1.6 gigawatts that are going to be built by 2025 according to the contracts that were signed. The issue here is that we don't have a control mechanism when it comes to the EU funds, and we don't actually know how much of these gigawatts are going to be built and what the state of development is. So we could, in theory, have 1.6. In practice, we will wait for next year to see what's happening. And the CFD was long waited because the CFD sends this stability signal. Investors come when you have stability, when you have a market that's going to ensure at least predictability for, medium, long term. So this CFD was very important for us, not only in terms of what it brings in terms of financing, but also the signal that it sends. So yes, we will have hopefully 2.5 gigawatts, additional gigawatts in solar by 2028. I think that's the COD for the last projects, but we shall see.
And we have also seen a revival discussions on the PPAs.
Yeah.
If you can give us just a brief
Sure.
overview on that as well.
As CFDs, PPAs also send the signal of stability. But you see, the market is very, very young, to say so, because PPAs were not permitted until 2021. So you had this ban on PPAs that lasted around 10 years. You also had the crisis, the energy crisis. You had a lot of volatility, a lot of instability, and of course no one wanted to sign. It's not only the reality in Romania, but also the European level, because the PPAs signed decreased considerably during this energy crisis for the reasons that I've mentioned. And we now see that PPAs are starting to grow and are complementary to the CFD. There are still some barriers that we hope to have eliminated with the new electricity market design. The support that's going to be given for the development of the market, but it's still early to have an estimation of the number of PPAs. There are still things that need to be clarified, to be eliminated in order for this market to take up.
Okay, and just to summarize, at this stage, we have a target for 2030, 8 gigawatts installed capacities, but this could be more ambitious. We also have the targets for 2040, 2050 within the draft revised NECP. And we have financing mechanism dedicated to solar PV. But in terms of challenges, what are the main challenges, at least on the short term?
I'd say that there are two main challenges. First of all is the grid. That's not only our problem, it's a generalized problem because of the way the network developed with, fossil fuels that are stable. We are moving away from that trend, but the grid is not up to the speed. And that is one of the problems that we have, because we have a lot of delays when it comes to grid connection. We have a lot of delays when it comes to grid expansion. We have a lot of lines that were supposed to be finalized in the upcoming years that we now see in the latest version of the network development plan extended into the future, well into the future. So that's also an issue when it comes to the investments. You don't have the stability that your project is going to be connected to the grid if you finish it by the moment you say you finish it. So that's one issue. And another issue is the fact that we have significant delays, both in the permitting framework as a whole, that are caused by various factors, but also we have delays when it comes to the transposition of the European directives, regulations, so on and so forth. For example, when we talk about the Renewable Energy Directive, the previous version was transposed in 2022, when we almost had the new directive. We are still not catching up with the speed that we need to have. For example, we are still in delays when it comes to transposal of this directive. We were supposed to have a more streamlined permitting framework for renewables. That's not currently happening. And there are a lot of variables that derive from it. So I'd say grid and delays.
What we have also heard is that there is a challenge in terms of workforce, but not only for solar, but also for wind and including the investments in the grids.
Yes, indeed. We actually, according to the estimates by Solar Power Europe, we will need, in a medium scenario, to have around 80,000 full-time employees only in solar to deploy the capacities, to operate, so on and so forth. Yeah, indeed, we have, but I mean, there is still time to train these people. We need only investments, and we also need commitment from the authorities, because it's something that we also mentioned when it came to the NECP. We don't have a target for people that need to be skilled. We don't have a target for investments in people, basically. And it's a discussion that is still ongoing, that we're having with the authorities, and that we bring up to the table whenever we can. So yes, skilled workforce is very important.
And coming back a little bit on the grid challenges, we at EPG, we estimated that the investment needs within the grid, both transport and distribution, are estimated at around 6.8 billion euros until 2030 for transport, for the transmission grid, and around 9 to 11 billion euros for the distribution grid, in order to be able to take over the new installed capacities, but also to accommodate the increased demand for electricity. Now I propose to draw the conclusions of the discussion, and in terms of the policy recommendations that RPI is highlighting through the discussions.
Well, first of all, the most important thing is to align with what Europe is, to the pace that Europe is going to at the moment. So we need to have more renewables in the system, because renewables are not only clean and contribute a lot to our targets when it comes to decarbonization, but they also bring down the price. So you have more affordable energy that is going to help you in the long run. You will have more investors that come to Romania if they have a competitive price of energy, which is not currently happening. And from this, other benefits trickle down. A workforce, investments, manufacturing, so on and so forth. There are a lot of things that come with renewables, but you need to have the support for renewables and also to have ambitious targets. Going back to the NECP, the targets that you set in the NECP also have an impact on the development plan of the network. If you are more ambitious, the grid is going to develop faster or more according to your needs. We have at the European level with the European market design, the new European market design, we have this concept of anticipatory investments that are very important that we still don't have in Romania. I mean, to develop the grid according to what you think will happen, not when you need to happen, to be more forward thinking. We also have this need for predictability, so we need to not have these many changes to the legislation. Now the situation is a bit better, but in the past years we had a lot of changes to the energy law that changed a lot of things to the market, for the market. We also need to have targets when it comes to the value chain development. Also mentioned in the NECP, but not very detailed. You need to have manufacturing in Romania as well. We need to develop these local value chains because they contribute to more jobs. They contribute to the economy. They contribute to a lot of factors. According to the same study that we did with the Wind Association in Deloitte, every 1 million euro creates around 6.1 workplaces, full-time workplaces.
So we consider a multiplication effect on the economy. And what I will add here is the harmonization of the strategic documents, because at least from our point of view, when you look at the NECP and the hydrogen strategy, you don't see their unified approach in terms of at least installed capacities for RES in order to develop the renewable hydrogen and the renewable hydrogen economy.
And not only that, but also the energy strategy. If you look at the energy strategy and the NECP, you see that there are a lot of contradictions, there are a lot of places where the targets don't meet up or don't make sense one with another. So yes, I agree with you with the harmonization.
And as well with the 10-year development plan from Transelectrica, because also we saw there, like in terms of the e-vehicles target, but also the project developments that need to be done by 2030. So, and the DSO's investment plan as well.
I would say that you need more accountability in terms of investments that need to be done. We need to have them included as well in the NECP, to have this political force behind it as well that is going to contribute to the projects to projects being constructed.
Okay. Good. So thank you for the insightful information, Irene. And just for you to know that a couple of weeks ago we launched a policy paper on solar PV that will be added to this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.
See you next time.